am the owner and artisan at NTS Design Co. I come live with you guys every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. to do some fun painting tutorials. I am a content creator for Dixie Belle Paint Company, and let's get to it. So I worked with this cabinet last week, and we're gonna work again with it next week, and probably the week after. No, I'm just kidding. So hopefully it'll be done by next week. I saved some things for you guys because I wanted to walk you through the process and make sure that you guys got the step-by-steps, because you guys love that, the follow-throughs. Anyway, the products that we'll be using today, you can find on the Dixie Belle website. If you go up to the left-hand corner where it says find your retailer and you type in your zip code, you'll be able to find all your local retailers in the area, and you'll be able to find all the products that we'll be using. Today, I will be using the Scarlet brush. We will be decoupaging. We decoupaged last week, but I'm going to show you how to line up your decoupage paper perfectly to when it's like a repeating pattern. Sometimes it can be tricky, so I thought I would go through that process with you. So we will be using the Scarlet brush to decoupage. It's just one of my favorites. It's nice and broad. You can use whatever brush. It's honestly what I had clean, so that's what we're using. We'll be using that with our glue, which will be the satin clear coat. So we'll be applying that. And we'll be doing some wax because this piece is my client's and it is very flat and boring looking right now. And if this is the look that you're going for, great, but that is not the look that we want to achieve. We want this to be beautiful and aged. It's an old piece of furniture and we want to give it all of its character back. And plus we have this gorgeous piece of wood you bend on here, so why not make it pretty, right? So we will be using the Best Dang Wax in brown. I will be using the Dixie Belle's Belle brush. I also will be using their Artisan brush. They come in this little pack. You can get your own. It comes with little details on the back. I'll be using the little flat brush to apply some wax in the smaller areas. And I will be using the French tip brush. Now, do you have to have all these things to achieve this look? No. I just have these things to make my life a little easier on hand, so that's what we're gonna be using. So we'll be doing that. And I wanted to show you, this is a newer French tip brush. This is a very well-loved French tip brush. Can you tell the difference? It's been worn down just a little bit. And hold on one second, I need to grab one more thing. We will also be using my handy dandy, grab some gloves because I hate touching stuff that's sticky. We'll also be using bag rags, okay? Hi, Patty, how are you, love? So let's do the wax first. This is very flat, okay? Where, if this piece of furniture was painted and sat in grandma's house for 46 years, where would the dirt be, right? That's what we're trying to achieve, that look. Where would the shadowing, where would some sort of character collect? Well, it would collect along this line here. It would collect in here. It would collect in here. It would collect all in here, and definitely down here. This is not sealed. So if you are new to wax and you are a little scared to play with wax, you can seal it, okay? You can seal your piece of furniture with top coat. You can seal it with easy peasy spray wax. You can seal it with whatever you want to seal it with. I do not want to do that. I want the wax to absorb as much of, I want the paint to absorb as much of the wax as possible. So it is unsealed. It's porous, right? And when you seal your piece of furniture, it allows the wax to move around a little better. Not only does it do that, but you are able to wipe back a lot easier in areas that you do not want that wax. Wax removes wax. If I put too much wax on here, I can get clear wax and remove it easily on a top-coated surface. If it is a not top-coated surface, you would still absorb into your paint and you may not be able to get it out all the way. Now, what you can do is leave it alone and repaint over it because it's all water-based. It's not an oil-based wax, so you're able to do that with our products. Now, that being said, let's go ahead and play with some wax. So I have my bag of rags so I can offload. And in case you missed, we will be using the Artisan brushes. They come in a little 4-pack. You can get them on the Dixie Belle website. I literally have, I don't know what happens to them. I think my garage eats them, but they're my favorite, okay? And so I'll be using the little square brush just to kind of do in there. And then I will be using one of my French tips to kind of blur that line out, probably this one. And I brought both just to show the difference of a well-loved French tip brush versus off other one. Hey, Teresa. Hello, hello. And I'll be using my Belle brush because it's my favorite for wax. As those that watch me wax 900 times in a row, you guys know that that's my favorite. All right, and don't be judging. I'm on a health journey. Not that I don't work out like crazy, but if you see me drinking this god-awful drink, no, I wasn't brainwashed. It's a green drink that I'm supposed to be drinking every single morning because it has all of my greens and antioxidants and all of the things that are supposed to make my body and belly healthy. So I'm on like week 2 of this. Do I tell a difference? Not really, but I'm hoping it does something. So don't be judging when you see me drinking some green stuff. From here and there, okay? All right, guys. Let's get started. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna drop you guys down and I'm gonna angle the camera downwards so you can see exactly what I'm working on. Sound good? Whee! And that's about as down as we can go. So if you need more down than that, I apologize. That's all I've got for you. All right. What we're gonna do, we're gonna open up our best dang wax in brown. These things last forever, okay? And unless you are heavily waxing all of the things, you will go through it. I've had this for over a year. Do you see how little I've used? And I wax a lot of stuff. So definitely getting your money's worth out of these products, okay? A little goes a long way. I'm gonna grab a rag to keep on my leg because I'm wearing nice clothes today because, you know, I love to torture myself and wear nice clothes in my shop and then wonder why my clothes are always covered in paint or wax or ruined. All right. Grab a couple rags to offload if need be. Pull my sleeves up because it is cold in my shop. All of a sudden, summer was here. We were at the beach last week and now it's cold. Like it was literally a frost warning. Like it's strawberry season here and the strawberry plants can't produce when it's that cold, so they had to protect the plants. So yeah, yay! Winter, swinter, I don't even know what to call it. Fake spring, whatever we're calling it. Yeah, can I have the warm weather back? That'd be great. I don't like being cold in my shop. It's not fun. And in 2 weeks, I'll be like, it's too hot. So just, you know, it's a wild ride here in North Carolina. So we're going to take this and we're going to come around these little edges here first. I don't know if I want to do this one first. I think we'll do here. We'll do here first, okay? So what I'm going to do in that case is I'm going to take my very well-loved Belle brush, or excuse me, French tip brush. I'm going to take a rag in my hand. I often like to do this. I'm going to do this right here. I'm going to protect that, okay? Because I don't want to smash down and make little marks. Here's my wax. Here's this. It's cold here too. Patty, I feel like, is it ever really warm there? Patty, I feel like you guys get like a couple weeks of warm. So I just dabbed down. I like to offload my wax in the lid. I don't take the little plastic thing out because I like to offload. And this is a really fluffy brush. And I love that for this reason. Now, after I've done that, I'm going to do exactly what I said, which is leave this here. Okay, I'm gonna take my rag. We're gonna double it up, triple it up, whatever we wanna do. And I don't want 1,000 pounds of wax on here. I just wanted to really coat my brush because this is the first time I'm going to be using it. And I'm going to offload that wax in my hand on this rag, okay? And I don't want it that heavy. Yes, it gets warm eventually. You poor thing. I want it to look like this, okay? So I don't want it to look like that. When I'm offloading it, I want it to look like that. And now what I'm going to do, less is more. I feel like I can pull you guys down just a smidge more. All right. I may not be in this frame, but you will be able to see what we're doing right here, okay? So we're just going to brush. Do you see how very lightly I am brushing that wax? Less is more. Don't come this way off the edge, okay? That's how you get that pretty little sharp line that everybody loves and everybody's like, how do you achieve that? This is how. Very lightly. Very little wax. This is a natural brush, so it sheds. Okay? Do you see how that line's getting created? Now we're gonna stop there. I'm going to take my Belle brush, which has nothing on it, nothing. And we're buffing it. I don't want this to be a heavy, heavy waxed piece, okay? Do you see how very lightly I'm smudging that? You can do little circles. I just want my edges to have that, see, and I've pulled it up to about here, and I'm gonna bring it in just a little bit, not a lot. And you can take it and smush it. That's the look that I'm trying to achieve, okay? I'm gonna go back and forth because I don't want it to look like it frayed in there, which is what it literally did because I just put it on there, like flicked on, right? So we're just gonna kind of soften that a little bit. And by doing that, I'm getting that wax to pull in on my piece a little further. I'm only gonna do half because you know I am a content girl and I love to film my stuff, okay? Now, do we see the difference? It's a little heavier here, that's okay. So what we'll do to even that out is make it a little darker here. Okay, and if you feel like it's too dark, you can wipe back. Is it going to, like, okay, watch. This is me removing wax with the cloth on an unsealed surface. That's all you get. So that's it. That's as good as it's getting. You can buff it in, but good luck getting it off. This is why I say less is more. Less is more, okay? Grab another rag. All right, so now we're gonna get it up here, just a little. I don't know if you guys can see that. And I literally am using my brush like an eraser. We're just smearing it on there. And again, the amount that's on this brush, this is the offloading brush. There's nothing is coming off of this rag. I'm literally, the paint is taking it and it's sucking it in and I'm just moving it around. I'm moving it where I want it to go. So you have to be very careful when you're not using a sealed surface because it does not come off. The only way to fix this is to paint back over it. And I say fix loosely because this is actually the look that I'm going for. Okay, so we're gonna take it. You can hold it. And that little bit that I'm getting on this edge is enough to bring it all the way up. So that's why I'm telling you, please don't put a lot on here because you're going to be mad and you're going to write me and go, I did what you said, and it went everywhere. Well, it went everywhere because you put too much on there. Okay, so now I'm gonna just kinda play with it and see where I want it to go. You can hold your brush tighter. I will not make it this dark up here because again, light to dark. Dark is always on the bottom. It'd be weird if it was so dirty at the top, okay? But you want it to be consistent. See how it's just a real soft line. Now, to fix that so it comes up just a little bit more, making sure I'm not losing you guys, is we're gonna do little circles up. Little circles up. That's carrying that up here and that softened that line ever so lightly. Again, the amount of wax that's on this offloaded brush is not even enough to get on a rag, okay? But that little bit that we put on there was enough to move it up here and create the look that we were trying to create. I'm only gonna come to here, okay? All right. I'm gonna do the same thing again. Back and forth. And then nothing's coming off. Small circles, back and forth, however you want. We want to erase that little line with the brush that we just created and move that wax up on the piece of furniture. This is why I like to do this on an unsealed surface. You can accomplish a waxed piece look. I feel like I can do it better when it's not sealed. I prefer to work with an unsealed. Okay, now again, with what's left on here, okay, I am going to very lightly, that's how lightly I'm brushing my piece of furniture. Okay, we're just going to half. That's it, okay? Okay? Any little loose hairs or anything else. Okay, this is the wax side, this is the unwaxed side. Do you see the difference? Do you see how pretty that looks? That's the look that we're trying to accomplish, and it came out really pretty. Now, I'm going to do the same thing up here and half my woodgie bend, okay? Now, for this, we're going to be using a much smaller brush. That brush was clean. We're gonna take our wax, we're gonna take this guy, and I want this because I wanna be able to get tightly in these little areas, okay? Oh my gosh, Patty, you're so sweet. It's just like coloring, that's all it is. We're just coloring. Okay, here's our brush, here's our wax. Okay, so flick down, flick down. That is the amount that we have on here. It is not a lot. Okay, and then we're gonna I'm gonna do this little corner right here first. So we're gonna take this, we're casting a shadow. That's all we're doing. We're casting a little shadow. We're gonna go a little heavier in the corners and we're gonna fade it out, okay? Very lightly. I like this brush because I can get right up in there. I'm literally following the crack. You barely can even notice that, okay? This is unwaxed, this is waxed. Now I'm going to take my clean French tip brush because it has that pointy little tip. And we're gonna do the same thing that we just did with that bell brush. That's it. That's the look that we're achieving. Very subtle, very, very, very subtle, okay? Now, I'm gonna leave it alone. That's all it needs. I'm going to very lightly, and the amount of wax, just to show you, when you're offloading, I don't even have, that's how little wax we're using, and that's the look that we're getting with very, very, very tiny bit of wax, okay? So very lightly, flick down, very little wax, okay? Now we're gonna come right here, okay? At this angle and shove it in there. You don't wanna come straight down, you wanna come in and we're gonna work it in that crack. Sometimes you can get in the crack, which is even better. Hopefully that isn't, if it is not, I apologize. Guess what, we're gonna do it like 8 more times, so you're fine. We're gonna take our French tip brush and you can see how it like smushed because I smooshed it in there. So we're gonna smoosh it in there and we're just, like an eraser, back and forth. Okay, and we're just gonna wiggle, 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 pull it out. And then do the same over here. And I don't want it to look like little circles. I want it to look like it just pulled out just a little bit. That's it. Super easy. Again, there's not even enough wax on here to come off. That's how much wax, little wax we used. A very simple process, okay? And again, we're gonna come on these edges with this little brush that I had the wax on before. That's it. And I probably will leave that. I just want that little crease line. Okay? Again, we'll do it up here. There's not even enough wax to come off on my hand. Okay? That's that. We're going to take our bell brush. You guys can do this. This is not hard. But like I said, that is harder because you use too much wax. Less is more. You can build it. Not a problem. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing here. A little heavier on this corner down here because that's where the bottom is. And then ta-da! I'm just gonna scrub just a little bit more. And this is how you change flat and boring, pretty and beautiful, okay? All right, now, that's how we did that. Okay, darker on the corners, lighter in the middle. Let's go ahead and we're gonna do our little wood band, okay? So we're gonna take, I'm gonna pull you guys in closer. But the feel of the wax, crazy. My hands until I washed up. There's not even any wax on here. Like I said, there's not any wax. The amount of wax that I'm using is such a subtle amount. You won't get it on your hands. I don't like things on my hands at all. And when I'm waxing it with clear wax, I use these gloves. My boyfriend's a mechanic and he always gets these for me because they're the kind that like nothing leaks through. So when I'm using like lacquer thinner, toxic stuff, it doesn't get through these. So when I top coat, I use these because I don't like anything on my hands. It freaks me out. So trust you and me. I would be the first person to tell you if this was a gross feeling. You can't feel the wax on the furniture. There's such a small amount and it's definitely not on my hands. So hopefully that helps you out a little bit. But yes, I can completely agree that I don't like that feeling. All right. So again, we're just going to just very lightly touch that in there. And you saw that, very lightly touched. Like not dig, just literally like touch. Okay. We'll not be offloading. We're going to create the shadow that already exists on that piece. Okay. We're going to be using our French tip to blur that out. And we're just going to come in right here. Do you see how subtle that is? It is extremely subtle. We're going to take our French tip and that blurred it out, right? Just enough. Not a lot, very subtle. If it was too much, again, here's our white rag. Barely any wax. Again, white rag. Barely any wax, okay? So now let's try that again. We're gonna take our little, that's it. That is the amount of wax that's on there. There's not even enough to like even say anything that there's wax on there. We're just tap, tap, tap. Tap it in those crevices. Tap again, just so I can get it in these little cracky cracks. Okay. Is this time consuming? Absolutely. If you don't want that very blurred look, you can do it just like that, okay? If that's what you want, you can absolutely do that. I like it blurred out a little bit. If you don't have one of those brushes, you can just use this brush, just like I'm doing, and pull it down. Just do little circles, back and forths. Flatten your brush out. Lay it down on its side and flatten it out. So applying and dragging it out. You don't have to have all the fancy brushes. You can achieve this look any which way. Now, if I didn't like this look and I wanted it to come back a little bit, you can take your rag and buff it back a little. But like I said, this is not sealed paint, so it's not gonna come off as easy. Okay, I missed right there. So I'm going to just lightly touch, okay? And we're gonna get more of the wax over here. We're just wiggling that back and forth. And it creates that shadowed look. Super pretty. Yes, I'll top coat it when it's done, Jan. I'll let the wax, like there's barely any wax on there, so it's not like my top coat's gonna take it off. When you use a lot of wax, sometimes people will say that the top coat will take it off, but I don't have that issue because it's raw paint, so it soaks it in. If you're putting wax over a top coat, I don't seal it, I leave it alone because sometimes your top coat will wash it off. So you have to be careful for that. But I will seal this just with satin clear coat. Okay, now we're gonna come up here. Again, just, that's it. Let me see. And then we're just gonna tap, tap, tap. All right. All right, I'm gonna go a little heavier right here, okay? Because I want it in those little creases. Now, remember, this is not sealed, so you have to be careful. That's how you get that look. See the difference? Just a little bit. All right, now that I've done that, offload your brush because I just put so much wax on there. If I try to do what I'm doing down here, save that part for last, okay? Definitely don't do it first and don't do it in the middle like I did because you'll put too much wax on there. So we're just gonna offload this baby until my brush is clean or until my rag is white. Still not white. All right, close enough. See? All right, now, like I said, touch. I'm gonna do the inside in here. And then that's nice and dirty. And all I do for these like little intricate pieces is just kind of, you're not gonna get a perfect seamless wax blend in there. So you just wanna just touch your brush in there, just wiggle it around the best you can, okay? Offload. We're gonna do down here. And that's as far as I'm going, because remember, I'm gonna record the rest for content. And use the rest of the wax that's on here to kind of smear out my okay, and then we're just gonna the bottom I'm gonna do heavier because there's gonna be a darker casted shadow than there would be on the top. Top we're gonna do very lightly, on the bottom you do darker, okay? So my focus is on this edge more than pulling it out slowly, okay? So you're gonna focus on your edge and really get that in there. You're gonna offload your brush just a little bit just to make sure there's not a lot on there. And then you pulling it out, extending that shadow line just a little bit, okay? And if you wanna blur it out more, you can with your Belle brush. You can take your Belle brush and that just softened that just a little bit more. It's sheddy. All right, and that's how you create that look. Like I said, we're gonna go heavier on the end with our little brush. So I'm gonna wash this afterwards because you're gonna really get that in there, right? Okay. Take, all right. I'll read your comment in just a second, I'm sorry. Just gonna soften that up in there. Okay, take this nice rag. We'll make sure that not to get it everywhere else. Get a clean spot. Okay, and there we go. That's that. Just kidding, I forgot this part. I will be washing these guys because I just contaminated everything, and if I try to go into a other side with this much wax in it, it's gonna be awful. All right, now. I got some over spray wax. So there, that's that. Now I'm gonna take my rag and we're just gonna soften that. And it just softens that. Not much comes off, okay? We're just kind of buffering it in, all right? So that's that. I'm gonna put these brushes over here so I don't lay them on this nice, beautiful white piece of furniture. And I'm gonna put our top back on. And until next time, that is that part, okay? A nice clean rag. All right, I'm going to put these dirty rags over here, and I'm going to make sure I didn't miss your comment. Okay. Now, don't be judgy. Drinking my weird green drink. We're gonna move over here. Excuse me. I'm gonna pop you guys back up. And doo-doo-doo. All right. Let's go. Make sure I didn't ruin that brush. Come on now. Take my bag of rags. I have to prop my door open because the hinges, okay? On heavy pieces of furniture like this, you don't want it to lean on itself because you'll break the hinges. Actually, come on. So I want that there. Grab some rags. Soften that corner, okay? And we're gonna work back over there. All right, there's some areas that I'm gonna need to fix on here. I haven't touched this thing since last week because I wanted to show you guys how to create that repetitive pattern line. Grab all my stuff, and I'm going to move you guys accordingly. Stay. Okay, make sure I can open that. That's always a problem for me. Pull you guys right here. Can you guys see? Yes, you guys can see. Okay. Now, I probably should have moved this piece of furniture just a little bit because now I'm stuck in the garage. All right, so this is the Peaceful Peonies decoupage paper. She's absolutely gorgeous. I'm always terrified that there's gonna be a spider in my garage door, but to be fair, I'm always terrified there's gonna be a spider anywhere. I'd rather see a mouse than a spider. All right. So we're gonna open this. Come on, just gonna put that in there. And we're gonna cut the white edge off of this, and we're gonna line up our paper. Don't just cut it when it's folded. FYI, don't do that because it's not, as you can see, it's not folded perfect. So if you do that, you're going to be sad. Your line's gonna be crooked and you're gonna be missing some of the paper. Okay, so this is the flower. Just kidding. All right, so I need to figure out which side we're going to be using because the pattern is supposed to be repetitive. So this clearly is not it, right? I feel like in theory it should be here. That's not it either. All right, there we are. I was like, wait a minute, what are we doing here? Okay, so how did I put the paper? All right, you're running into the situation that I'm running into. All right, so I have to hold the paper. I'm not good at this, you guys. So okay. So there's our flower. So that's this. Am I tripping? That's this piece. Why do I feel like this is not the same? All right, that way. I was trying to figure out how I put it on there. Okay. So, there we go. All right, it takes a second. My brain doesn't work that way. So this is where we're going to create that exact piece because there's the other corner to that flower And here's the rest of that flower. Yes, the paper looks darker because it's obviously on something and there's top coat and blah, blah, blah. All right, so this is the part that we're going to repeat. And thank heavens to Betsy, I have enough paper because I only have 3 of these papers. Only 3. So what I'm actually gonna do is I'm going to overlap that baby by a lot. This is how I measure. Don't be judgy. There's no room for judgment here. You can do it better your way if you want. This is how I do it. All right. Now that I've gotten that figured out, I have all of this paper. And then when you're doing this, flip it, okay? Because it doesn't matter which way your flowers go. It's going to be beautiful either way. Just know that you have to flip it, and I have to remind myself to put this side down there. Otherwise, I'm not going to have enough because I'm using the corner that I would need if I didn't do that. That is because I only have 3 of these papers instead of 4. I didn't want to place an order and wait an additional 2 weeks or a week or whatever it was that it takes to ship sometimes. So I want this piece to go back home by next week. So this will be the last time we work on this piece together. And then we'll be starting, I have some new furniture we're gonna be working on. I have a client's rocking chair, and I also have a client's bar that we'll be creating. So I can't promise that we'll work on them start to finish, but we'll work on them as much as we can. That's all I needed out of this big piece of paper, right? So I still have all of this. So now I know in my head, I'm just going to remind myself and leave the paper there before I get all doo-doo and forget what I was doing, because I like to do that. And then give myself an unfair advantage because I won't have what I need. So now we're just gonna go ahead very carefully and cut the white line, the border, off of this paper. Excuse me, off of this paper. The pollen here has been horrendous. Everybody's allergies are on like level 100. The rain's supposed to knock it down, and it is not. I'm just gonna leave that in there. Okay, I'm gonna cut this little line as closely as possible. This is not one of those papers that you can run your scissors down, you'll rip it, okay? Because it has little pieces of fiber in it, and it's rice paper. So there's fibers in this paper. Do not do that. Okay, there's that. Now, remember what I said? That's the corner right there to there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to overlap this ever so slightly because I don't want a gap. Clearly I didn't cut this perfect. Clearly I didn't cut that perfect. So by overlapping it just a little bit, that's gonna give me freedom. I wanna make sure I didn't miss. Yeah, okay. So we're gonna take our satin clear coat and I'm going to use my Scarlet, which fits perfect. I love this brush for decoupaging. It's so big and it gets everything on there so nice. It's a great brush to paint with, but honestly, my favorite use for the Scarlet brush is strictly for decoupage. I'm just going over this just a little bit so that I can, and then I have to lift up here because there we go. We're gonna reseal that down. Whee! And that'll go where I need it to. If I get it on the wood, just take your finger and wipe it off. It's not a big deal. Come this way. Come this way. All right, easier said than done, right? You want to apply a liberal amount when you are decoupaging, okay? If you don't have enough, it gets dry and it won't stick. So what I like to do is I very carefully go along all of my edges, get it exactly where I want it. Grab a rag, get your edges where you're going to blob it over a little bit, okay? And that's okay. Ugh, come on, I'm too close to where I don't want to be. All right, we're gonna definitely put a lot more on here because it's wood. What does wood do? It absorbs. Even though that this is top coated, or excuse me, sealed with primer, it still will do that. Now, very carefully, carefully. All right. Come on. I'm not talking, it is because I am extraordinarily focusing on this, so give me a minute. All right. I'm not worried about the rest of the paper. I'm just worried about this edge. Is there an easier way to do this? Probably. I feel like lining up decoupage paper like this isn't the hardest thing in the world, but you just have to be really careful. Okay, don't touch that. Now we're gonna come back because I've lifted this piece up like 400 times. Apply some more. This is where I said I was gonna wear gloves and I didn't, and you see me like a cat with tape on her hands. I hate that feeling. Okay, I'm gonna pull up gently. Okay, pressure's off. It's on. I did it! Okay. Like I said, I only have one shot at this. That's it. Okay, make sure that's perfect. I'm putting a lot of sealer on that line because I don't want it to peel up. I'm not worried about my edges. I always fix that later. It's not really a concern. Pull them up a little bit, honestly, so it doesn't stick, because sometimes it does. All right, now let's fix this corner. Okay, you can fix the corners. Sometimes, honestly, I'll just use crazy glue. Not even gonna lie. But I have top coat out. Okay, come back over her. Yes, I'm getting it everywhere. It's not a big deal. I'm gonna wipe it off. All right. I already sealed this once with you last time. I'm going to seal it again. I like to seal after I've cut the edges off because it seals them down. Okay? Like I said, I'll take it and I'll push it towards it, which you never do. I always tell you not to. But I'm sealing my edge, so it's okay. And then I'm just wiping off any excess top coat on this piece of furniture along the edges. The inside of this is going to get a lot of use, which is why I'm taking I'm taking more time on it than I normally would. But like I said, this is a coat closet that they use because they don't have a coat closet. Okay, and then I'm just going to smooth out all that top coat. So you can put it on haphazard however you want to. Just make sure that your last little strokes are gonna be nice and smooth to alleviate some of those crazy strokes. Okay, there's that. I'm gonna let that dry. I'm gonna take a razor to it. I find that taking a razor to it sometimes is a little easier than sanding it. I showed you both ways. It's completely up to you how you decide to do it. I just like to give you guys options. Okay, so there she is. That looks beautiful. My client's gonna be so happy with that. She's gonna love this waxed look. I'm gonna come just a little heavier right here just because it's a little darker. Does it have to be perfect? No, I'm just OCD. So this is the unwaxed side. That's the waxed side. You guys can see the difference. I'm gonna pop you guys off of here. And I'm gonna show you what we're gonna be working on next week. So I will be working on restoring this rocking chair. I'm going to be restoring the leather. I'll be polishing up these rivets, I guess you would call them. I don't know what they're called. This is leather. My client was rocked in this rocking chair as a baby, and it's very worn and very loved. I will not be sanding it. I will be showing you how I'll be doing that. I'll be using lacquer thinner to clean off all of the stuff that's on there, and then I'll be restaining it with the same color, so I'll have to go back and show you what that is. The same client gifted me this beautiful dresser, by the way, that I may or may not want to keep because, and I like to keep all the things. I have a buffet in my bedroom. It's purple, and I'm just torn on whether I want to keep it or not, to be quite honest. So this is walnut, very, very loved. This hardware is gorgeous. I will be cleaning that up and then fixing this beautiful trim. It's salvageable, so with a little bit of wood glue and some clamping, we'll be able to fix that back together. So she'll be a full restoration. There will be no paint on this, if possible. I will try my very hardest not to paint this piece of furniture because I don't want to. So we'll see what happens there. Again, that's next week. And say bye to her because the next time you see her, she will be staged and ready to go off to her new home. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you. Dixie Belle, thank you for having me. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day. I am off to go sit at the DMV to go get a new license plate sticker because I have been pulled over twice now. I got pulled over this morning too for my license plate sticker because they like to do that here. All right, you guys, have a wonderful day. See you next week. Bye.